Adrian Newey has just revealed something about the AMR26 EVO that could completely change Aston Martin's future. Not because of one dramatic upgrade. Not because of one clever aerodynamic trick. But because the entire car may be built around an idea that Formula One's biggest teams could be underestimating. The new regulations reset the grid. The engines change. The aerodynamics change. Even the way drivers manage energy becomes part of the fight. And Newey believes the smallest hidden detail could decide who dominates and who disappears into the midfield. But the most important part of his revelation is not what Aston Martin has added. It is what they may have understood before everyone else. Subscribe to the channel. Before we go any further, there is one crucial detail that changes how this story should be understood. The real significance of the Aston Martin project is not one dramatic part, one secret wing, or one magical solution hidden beneath the bodywork. It is the timing. Formula One is entering a complete reset, and resets are dangerous. They create opportunity, but they also punish every wrong assumption. A team can spend months building what looks like the perfect car, only to discover that one early decision has trapped the entire design. Think of it like building a house. If the foundation is slightly wrong, you can repaint the walls. You can replace the windows. You can move the furniture. But you cannot easily repair the foundation without tearing apart everything above it. That is why Adrian Newey matters so much. His value has never been limited to drawing one fast component. His real strength has been understanding how every area of a Formula One car affects every other area. Airflow changes cooling. Cooling changes bodywork. Bodywork changes balance. Balance changes tire behavior. And tire behavior can decide whether a driver attacks for an entire race, or spends every lap protecting a car that is slowly losing performance. But here is where the pressure becomes enormous. The AMR26 cannot simply be fast in perfect conditions. It has to work when the track is hot, when the wind changes, when the tires begin to fade, and when another car is close enough to disturb the air. That sounds like a small detail. It is not. A Formula One car can feel brilliant when it is alone, then become unstable the moment it enters traffic. It can produce impressive performance over one lap, then punish its tires during a long race. It can be fast in high-speed corners, but lose everything in the slower sections where traction matters most. And every compromise creates another problem. More cooling can mean more drag. More downforce can make the car harder to control. A sharper front end can help the driver turn, but it can also make the rear feel nervous. So the challenge is not finding the maximum in one area. The challenge is creating a car that does not collapse when all those areas begin fighting each other. And this is why the first version of the AMR26 may not tell the full story. The word EVO suggests evolution. Not a completely separate machine, but a car designed to grow, adapt, and become more dangerous as the team learns what the new rules truly demand. That distinction is critical. Some teams may arrive with a car that is already close to its limit. It could look fast immediately, but leave very little room for development. Aston Martin's deeper gamble may be different. Build a platform with space to change. Create a car that can accept new ideas without destroying its balance. Leave enough freedom for the engineers to react when the first real weaknesses appear. Because simulations can predict a great deal, but they cannot perfectly recreate every moment of a racing season. The first time the car follows another machine through a fast corner, the team learns something. The first time the tires overheat during a long run, the team learns something else. The first time the driver says the car feels unpredictable under braking, another hidden weakness appears. And those early lessons can decide the direction of the entire season. But there is an even bigger question. What if the most important feature of the AMR26 EVO is not something Aston Martin intends to reveal at launch? What if the real advantage is the way the car has been prepared for changes that have not happened yet? Because Newey's greatest weapon may not be one visible solution. It may be the ability to predict where the regulations will push every team next. And this is where the story becomes more complicated. Because the most important details are still not fully specified. There is no confirmed public breakdown of every aerodynamic decision, every packaging choice, or every development step behind the AMR26 EVO. That uncertainty matters. In Formula One, teams rarely reveal the full picture before they absolutely have to. They show enough to attract attention, enough to shape the conversation, and enough to make their rivals wonder. But the most valuable information usually remains hidden. Not because secrecy automatically creates speed. Because once another team understands the logic behind a design, they can begin searching for the same advantage. And that creates a strange battle before the car even reaches the track. A battle of interpretation. One team looks at a new side pod shape and sees cooling. Another sees airflow management. A third sees a clue about how the floor is being fed with clean air. The same visible part can tell three completely different stories. But only one interpretation may be correct. That is what makes Newey's involvement so powerful. His reputation creates pressure before any stopwatch gives us an answer. Rival teams are not only studying Aston Martin's car. They are studying what Newey might be thinking. They are asking where he believes the new regulations leave freedom. They are asking which area of the car offers the biggest hidden reward. And most importantly, they are asking whether Aston Martin has chosen a direction that others have missed. But here is the danger. A famous designer does not remove risk. In some ways, the expectation makes the risk even greater. Every unusual shape will be treated like genius. Every early weakness will be treated like failure. Every upgrade will be examined as evidence that the original idea was either brilliant or flawed. That pressure can distort the entire conversation. Because a Formula One car is not created by one person. It is built by hundreds of decisions. Designers, aerodynamicists, vehicle performance engineers, simulation teams, mechanics, and drivers all shape what finally appears on the circuit. One brilliant concept can still fail if the rest of the package cannot support it. Imagine putting an extremely powerful engine into a car with ordinary brakes. The power sounds impressive. But the whole machine is limited by the part that cannot keep up. Formula One works the same way. Aston Martin could find a major aerodynamic gain, but lose time through cooling. It could create excellent balance, but struggle with weight. It could build a car that is gentle on its tires, but too slow in a straight line. And this is the hidden conflict inside every ambitious design. Speed is never one thing. It is the result of hundreds of compromises working together. That is why the word evolution becomes so important. The AMR26 EVO may ultimately be judged less by how shocking it looks, and more by how quickly it responds to reality. The first races will expose weaknesses that no computer model can fully hide. A driver may discover that the car turns beautifully at medium speed, but becomes nervous under heavy braking. The tires may last longer than expected, but take too much time to reach the correct temperature. The car may be stable in clean air, then lose confidence when following closely. Each problem forces a choice. Do you protect the original concept? Or do you change direction? And that decision can define an entire season. Because development time is limited. Every new floor, wing, cooling exit, or suspension adjustment consumes resources. A team cannot chase every possible solution. It has to decide which weakness is costing the most performance, then attack that weakness without creating another one. That sounds logical. But under pressure, logic becomes harder. Sponsors expect progress. Drivers demand confidence. Fans want immediate results. The media looks for winners and losers before the full picture is clear. And rivals keep developing at the same time. Standing still is not neutral. Standing still means falling behind. So Aston Martin's real challenge is not simply producing a fast starting point. It is building a car that can survive the development race. A car that can change without losing its identity. A car that can accept upgrades without becoming unpredictable. A car that gives its drivers confidence even as the package evolves. And there is another layer that cannot be ignored. The relationship between the car and the driver. Engineers can create a machine that looks exceptional in simulation. But the driver still has to trust it. Trust the front tires when turning into a fast corner. Trust the rear of the car when applying power. Trust the brakes when attacking from far behind. That trust cannot be forced. It develops when the car reacts consistently. A predictable car gives the driver freedom. An unpredictable car creates hesitation. And in Formula One, hesitation costs more than time. It changes decisions. It makes overtaking harder. It increases tire wear. It forces the driver to leave a margin where the fastest drivers normally leave none. This is where the AMR26 EVO could face its most important test. Not whether it produces one spectacular lap. Not whether it creates one headline. But whether it gives the driver enough confidence to find the limit, lap after lap, under completely different conditions. Because the fastest car on paper is not always the fastest car on Sunday. The fastest car is often the one the driver understands. The one that communicates clearly. The one that does not suddenly change its behavior when the fuel burns away, the tires begin to fade, or the wind changes direction. And this brings us closer to the real question. What exactly would make Newey's design philosophy so dangerous under these new rules? The answer may not be one visible breakthrough. It may be the way the entire car has been designed to remain calm while everything around it changes. And this is where Aston Martin's challenge becomes much bigger than aerodynamics. A Formula One car does not exist alone. It depends on the engine behind the driver, the battery beneath the bodywork, the cooling system hidden inside the side pods, and the way every part is packed into an extremely tight space. Change one of those pieces, and the entire car may have to change with it. Imagine trying to pack a suitcase for a long journey. At first, everything fits. Then someone adds another pair of shoes. You move the clothes. That blocks the zip. You remove something else. Now the weight is uneven. The problem is no longer the shoes. The problem is the way every item affects everything around it. That is the kind of puzzle Aston Martin must solve with the AMR26. And under a major regulation reset, that puzzle becomes even more dangerous. The team cannot simply design the fastest shape in a wind tunnel. It has to design a complete machine. One that can cool itself. One that can protect its tires. One that can manage energy. One that can remain stable when the driver attacks a curb, enters dirty air, or changes direction at high speed. And here is what makes this so important. The best aerodynamic idea in the world is useless if the car cannot support it. If the cooling system needs larger openings, the airflow changes. If the engine package takes more space than expected, the bodywork changes. If the suspension cannot control the platform, the floor loses performance. And if the car becomes too sensitive, the driver loses trust. That chain reaction is where entire projects can begin to unravel. Not with one obvious failure. With a series of small compromises. Each one looks manageable. Each one steals a little performance. Then, by the time the car reaches the track, the original advantage has quietly disappeared. This is why Newey's influence may extend far beyond the visible surface. The real battle is not only about shaping the air. It is about deciding where every component belongs, how tightly it can be packaged, and how much freedom remains for future development.